Hello everyone, this is Crota giving you a shoutcast and a game between I think it's TaeJa versus NexLine here on a map that I have no idea about. So we'll see what comes of this and what's going to happen. I believe this is a GSL map, but it was in Korean. It was a little bit difficult for me to read, so I'm not going to make too much of it. But I am looking at the map now, and there are some things I would like to point out as this game does get underway. Anyways, let's talk about the game. NexTaeJa spawning as the red Terran player. Meanwhile, NexLine spawning as the blue Zerg. So Zerg versus Terran. I know you guys have seen a lot of these games as of late, but then again, I've never seen this particular map, so hopefully you guys do enjoy it. Now, first thing I want to say is that they did reintroduce island expansions here, and one of the things that makes it interesting as opposed to not your standard island expansion is that there's actually creep tumors burrowed or just present on the map. What that's going to do is that it prevents Terran players from being able to lift off and land command centers out of the way where they're not really going to be able to be harassed or put any pressure down early. Add in a couple missile turrets, which Terran players build regularly anyways, and things are looking very, very up and up for a Terran player. Let's see what this Terran and Zerg player does on this map. I can't make too many predictions based upon map specific builds, but we can have a hatchery come in. It looks like it was a 15 hatch being built, and we should perhaps be going into a spawning pool momentarily. Taking a look at what the Terran player is doing, he did opt to go for a refinery, so we could have reactor hellions. The timing would be standard for that, and it would be a reactor hellion. The factory would be started, and then the command centers would be started if there was a reactor hellion expansion. As a drone now looking to put a little bit of damage onto that barracks, the SCV now going to decide to finish building that building there. Supply depot, or the floating supply depots, the floating supply, the overlords, their control now making their way into this base, and we'll see what will come of this. Now, taking a look at strategy so far, a look at the spawning pool was placed down well before the extractor. That does mean metabolic boost will be a bit delayed, so line should be perhaps relying on spine crawlers and queens for some base defense. Now, only a couple of gas away before we do get that reactor. The supply depots, both of them are down. There is that reactor now being established, as overlords are going to park themselves in very nice positions, making sure that they spot any medevacs if the units do try to fly out. There's also this untraversable terrain off over here. Siege tanks cannot be placed there. Reapers cannot jump up onto the high ground to spot that early overlord, as a bunker is now being established. It looked as though Marines are going to be able to start attacking at this hatchery. Marines may not really be able to deal all that much damage. The bunker does look very threatening, but you got to remember that as soon as that queen pops out, it will be able to absorb the majority of that damage as the Zerglings go to finish it off. So already that hatchery down to 1100 hit points, but now salvaging that bunker, Zerglings able to chase down that SCV. There, that bunker has been salvaged, and not that much damage was dealt. He didn't force any drones to really be pulled off, and he actually lost 25 minerals in salvaging that bunker, and also lost 50 minerals in that SCV. Taking a look over here, we do see that there is a creep tumor here, and I think this actually gives Zerg a little bit too much of an advantage. I guess if it was a burrowed supply depot, that may have been better, but only Zerg players can actually build a hatchery on creep. Terran players and Protoss players, after they clear out the creep tumor, have to wait for all of that creep to actually recede. So this map may be a little bit Zerg favored in terms of island expansions. If you do want to talk about it, there are also two Xel'Naga towers in the center, just revealing a very, very large portion of the map, as Marines are now on the move trying to hunt for any stray overlords. There is a set of destructible rocks that ends up opening up your ramp even wider. Siege tanks here, though, should be able to cover up a good portion of it, as there's also another set of destructible rocks leading to your third. However, if you do try to take down these rocks here, then you do expose another entry inside your base. We'll see what will come of that. similar to, I guess, Zelnaga caverns, as roaches are now scampering across the field. The Hellions do decide to back off, and they may be able to just simply drive around these roaches and get some damage here on the front door. And there is really nothing except for Zerglings, as those Hellions are going to be able to deal a lot of damage. The front door, the bunker, it does not look to be completed in time. Roaches are going to be able to simply walk inside here, and that's going to be really, really bad news, as the Marines and SCVs are now coming off to engage. Hellions are not doing anything at this time, as the SCVs and the Marines are trying to engage back and forth. The SCV are being destroyed. The roaches are backing off, and now the bunker will be completed. The Marine's going to jump inside that bunker and now force all of those roaches to pull away, but not before another SCV gets taken down. However, the Terran player is not really utilizing the fact that those roaches are a way to attack with these Hellions, and now finally moving in with these Hellions here. The Zerglings may all get torched here. A nice round of Zerglings do get taken out. Another 3 more get destroyed. But the Hellions will not be able to fight on creep all too much, as we are now going into a Spire and also a Baneling's Nest. Marines are on the move. It looks as though Combat Shield is now being researched. Stim has been completed already, as the Zerglings finishing off with the Hellions with a little bit of help from the roaches, and now the Marines battling up against those roaches. Roaches are trying to run, but they are not going to be able to survive all too much. The Marines could stim, but that would just be taking too much damage to chase after 2 more roaches. Medevacs are being trained up. Siege tanks nowhere in sight, as we don't have a tech lab on that factory. So it will be very difficult to handle those Banelings. Banelings, the bane of many Marines, especially as we are at tier 2, and Baneling movement speed could be researched in just a moment, only needing 2 minutes of game time to really complete it there. Marines are upgraded with Stim Pack. We are going into an engineering bay, and Combat Shield should be completed as well, as we have Zerglings and roaches on patrol, and primarily where a drop would normally happen. The drop window is going to quickly close, though, as Mutalisk will take control of the skies and be able to hunt down Medevacs in just a moment's notice. NexTaeJa is going to drop Marines now. Marines going up against the roaches. There are double Medevacs, so this may actually work out a little bit better, as the Marines are trying to finish this off. Is it going to be enough? The Marines have to be careful, picking up all those units, and now in come the Mutalisk. The Marines are dropping down, and the Mutalisk do not want to engage against those Marines. The Marines covering the Mutalisk, as the Medevacs are now returning home. This creep tumor is not burrowed, so it is in plain sight. As actually, is it in plain sight? I'm not sure. Marines are still trying to engage against those Mutalisks. Mutalisks are backing off. Terran player is up in food, 97 compared to 83. Siege tanks are now being added, as the Marines with no upgrades just quite yet, just Combat Shield and Stim, no level 1 weapons upgrade, even though the engineering bay was completed some time ago. There it is, no upgrades. We can see that a 3rd orbital command has been established, as creep tumors are now slowly pushing out across the map, trying to give movement speed advantage to Banelings. It looks like all those creep tumors will be simply destroyed, as now Mutalisks and Zerglings are trying to engage. If the Marines could easily focus down many of those Zerglings, as the Banelings are now looking to come in. The Banelings are not on creep, no movement speed upgrade just quite yet, and because of Stim, they would be able to perhaps split and focus down Banelings before the Banelings even got within splash range. Orbital command looking to lift off and now land at the 3rd base, so it is going to be 3 base to 3 base. Surprisingly, nope, never mind. NexLine does have a macro hatch here at the natural expansion. Also, you can see level 1 weapons and armor upgrades coming in, as Mutalisks look to put in pressure, but quickly get pushed away as a missile turret comes up just in time. Mass Marines attempting to take down destructible rocks. Orbital command now calling in mules. Those mules now returning 30 minerals per mineral per trip, as those are not gold mineral patches, and even if it was, this is still 142, but 143. All mules now return 30 minerals per trip, even if at a gold mineral patch. Mutalisk now looking to back away, perhaps trying to retake control of the skies. Overlords are in position to spot any more drops here, and there are not that many. There are no Vikings that I can see to really clean up these Overlords. back. You can see one Marine attempting to run away from Zerglings, not successful at all, as the game is continuing, and NexLine has fallen behind by 30 food. Now, the red Terran player may decide to establish up a planetary fortress next, but we also see 8 more Mutalisks still being added, so we will now be getting into the borderline critical mass number on those Mutalisks unless stores are brought into play. 11 Mutalisks now being added as well, so all of this off of 6 geysers, 6 extractors, allowing for about 7 Mutalisks to be trained every minute now. And looking at this, we can still see Marines trying to clean up more and more of these Mutalisks. Mutalisks can perhaps try to put some pressure down, but there are missile turrets. Missile turrets do deal a lot of damage as the Marines are going after the Mutalisks and able to take down 2 very, very quickly. Mutalisks accidentally flew into that pack of Marines. The Marines now getting level 2 weapons upgrade and level 1 armor upgrades, as level 1 vehicle upgrades come in for the Terran siege tanks. Siege tanks will be able to one-shot Zerglings, even if they have armor upgrades, as I believe the damage goes from 35 to 38. NexTaeJa currently sitting on 4 siege tanks now. Mutalisks now looking to push in once more from the right. There are supply depots being added, perhaps. Not quite sure why you would add a supply depot there, as it would just end up taking a lot of that chain damage, or perhaps accidentally start connecting the buildings, as Marines once again putting damage onto some Mutalisks, and simply not enough Marines there, as the medevac Omega taken out. No, the medevac down to 11 hit points, able to stay alive. Both of these medevacs, however, low on hit points, so they are not going to be able to stick around that fight. Even if they're not focused down, that glaive worm could bounce to them very quickly. 3 to 4 glaive worms, and those medevacs would be destroyed in just a matter of seconds. Marines looking to clean up hatcheries, making sure that they're nowhere to be found. This one medevac quickly gets taken out, focused down by line. Really well done. Level 1 weapons upgrade nearing completion on these siege tanks. The siege tanks now going to push out. There are banelings burrowed off over here, and TaeJa does not spot them. You can now see a medevac getting destroyed, as the hatchery, I believe, was either cancelled or destroyed. More Marines now making their way over. They are upgraded 1-1, soon to be 2-1, as the siege tanks need to get in position. 4 siege tanks may not be enough, though, to really hold off that Zerg army on the ground. You can take a look at that. That is a lot of Zerglings and banelings. They are just running wild here, as the siege tanks with level 1 weapons upgrade. Are we going to have a siege? No. Marines able to push them back again. Not quite sure. The Zerglings could have perhaps surrounded if the Mutalisks were nearby enough to engage. You never want to engage with your army split like that, especially when going up against higher numbers. Everything will just unravel very, very quickly, as the siege tanks now attempt to back off once more. Zerglings, Mutalisks, banelings now trying to find their target. The siege tanks are a little bit delayed. Siege tanks blasting against many of those banelings. Marines are all trying to split up, able to do exactly that. A lot of the siege tanks have been destroyed, so Marines taking down, or Marines saved by the siege tanks, but the Marines were too far away, as now NexTaeJa looking to get into 174 food. Meanwhile, NexLine rebuilding a lot of Zerglings, banelings, and also going into Infestors. Marines looking to do a drop off over here. The creep tumor should get destroyed in just a matter of seconds. There are Mutalisks off over here, and who's going to come out ahead? If these Mutalisks are simply just flying around the map and are not careful, they may just run straight into this group of Marines. The Marines are not stimmed, though, so the medevacs, the Marines are finally stimming up, able to take down many of these Mutalisks. Meanwhile, in the center portion of the map, Zerg are cleaning off over here, as well as the Marines trying to walk around this large group, and now in comes a whole bunch of Overlords. Infestors may be able to get off a fungal growth, though, and that would be very, very bad news, as the Marines are trying to split. You can see 1 fungal growth, a 2nd fungal growth going down to 3rd fungal, 4th fungal. So 4 fungals really changing the tide of this battle here. Fungal is pretty much undodgeable after the initial hit, dealing 40 damage, or I believe it's actually, is it 36 damage or 40 damage across all of those Marines, and those Marines quickly fall after 2 fungal growths. Siege tanks once again re-pushing out. NexLine now with 141 advantage to 132. Those fungal growths really did a lot of damage to those Marines and the army of TaeJa. TaeJa now needs to try to get back into the swing of things as NexLine, perhaps engaging a little bit prematurely, especially when he didn't have his all-important casters all the way back at home. It is still going to be 4 bases to now 5 as a new command center, or 2 new command centers being built. Banelings are now looking to roll their way in, but it will quickly be destroyed by a planetary fortress. Down it goes. Some damage dealt to the planetary fortress there, but all very superficial as that Baneling sacrificed itself all for naught. NexLine now only running off of 4 bases. His harvester count is fairly even, but there are a lot of mules in play for TaeJa, and it is essentially strip mining all of these mineral patches off over here. Marines now trying to engage. Banelings were going to find that target. The medevac is going to get shot down there. 500 resources lost. Siege tanks finally engaging, but getting to the party just a little bit late once more. All the Marines gathering next to those siege tanks. Siege tanks saying, I got your back if you got mine, and that looks like it will be the case as the Marines now push back all of those all those mutalisks once more. Now, NexLine is down by 30 food again. 71 harvesters compared to 69. A lot of ghosts have been added as we are now going into a greater spire. Still, these Banelings off over here haven't dealt any true damage. Perhaps burrowing Banelings on this ramp would be much, much better as the siege tanks now dancing, not quite deciding where they want to be. Mutalisks, siege tanks going after Banelings very, very quickly. Perhaps they saw them burrow and move as one siege tank really out of position, quickly going to get destroyed. But hopefully at least TaeJa got some sort of scouting information and was able to keep track of that army there. Marines, and now a medevac going to get quickly destroyed. The Marines simply running over, now trying to take down the rest of the Mutalisks. The Mutalisks are simply too much as another group of units gets destroyed there. So it doesn't really look like TaeJa is really utilizing all of these Marines and siege tanks that effectively. Now, Broodlords are being morphed into the field. The Corruptors now deciding to back off. Broodlords are rather slow as the Zerglings are now going to try to engage. The Broodlords are in position. Banelings may find their target. A scanner sweep doesn't reveal much of anything as a fungal growth could come in to try to take down, and NexLine says GG as he knows that he cannot get back into this matchup. A really good back and forth game here on, I don't even know the name of the map. If any of you guys want to educate me, go ahead and put it in the channel comments or the video comments, and I will definitely read it. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. TaeJa just really out-expanded NexLine. Was, even though he did not exchange very well, if you take a look at the losses, NexLine still ended up losing a bit more as TaeJa takes the lead. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening.